Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most famous, supposedly deadly anomalies on the planet. Yep, we're talking about the Bermuda Triangle. You know the stories. For decades, this patch of ocean has just been a massive magnet for the wildest conspiracy theories out there. It's shrouded in mystery, shrouded in fear. But today, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to use cold, hard data to crack this case wide open. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. How on earth do 20 planes, 50 ships, and literally hundreds of people just vanish? I mean, it sounds exactly like the plot of a sci-fi thriller, right? Over the centuries, the story goes that this invisible triangle just swallowed up wreckage and claimed the lives of anyone unlucky enough to pass through. But to really understand how this legend got built up, we have to look at the actual geography, or, the lack thereof. Because right off the bat, we hit a massive snag. The first glaring hole in this whole mystery, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't actually exist on any official map. Like, at all. The US government does not recognize it. Unofficially, sure, people will tell you it's bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. But since there are zero officially agreed-upon borders, the size of this thing shifts anywhere from 500,000 to 1.5 million square miles. I mean, that is 1,000,000 square miles of wiggle room for historical error. It's kind of impossible to track accurate fatalities when the scene of the crime literally shapeshifts depending on who's telling the story. Act 1, the scene of the crime. This is where we establish the legend. So these spooky stories didn't just start yesterday. They go back over 500 years. All the way back in 1492, Christopher Columbus actually wrote in his logs that his compass was acting super weird, pointing northwesting. He even claimed he saw this creepy, candle-like light on the horizon. Fast forward to 1881, and you get the legend of the Ellen Austin. Supposedly, this cargo ship found a completely empty ghost ship, put a salvage crew on it, and then, poof, it vanished into the fog. Although, quick reality check, official registries from 1881 show the Ellen Austin sailed without a single incident. Anyway, these separate, spooky stories just kind of simmered for centuries until 1964, when a guy named Vincent Gaddis connected the dots and officially coined the term the Bermuda Triangle in an Argosy magazine article. But it was really the early 20th century that kicked the terror into high gear. And U.S. President Woodrow Wilson honestly summed it up best when talking about the USS Cyclops. He said, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." In March 1918, this massive 542-foot Navy cargo ship left Barbados, carrying over 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore. It sailed north into the Triangle area and was literally never seen again. To this day, it remains the largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. naval history. And the scariest part? They never even sent out a single SOS. And it wasn't just ships. The terror totally reached up into the sky. December 1945, a group of 5 Navy torpedo bombers, famously known as Flight 19, went out on a routine practice run from Fort Lauderdale. The flight leader got completely disoriented. His compasses supposedly went haywire. The absolute last words we ever heard broadcast from Flight 19 were, "It looks like we are entering white water. We are completely lost." All 5 planes? Gone. And it gets worse. They sent a 13-man rescue plane to find them that very same day, and that plane vanished without a trace too. A Navy report actually noted it was as if they had flown to Mars. So take those very real, very tragic events, mix in some heavy Cold War paranoia, and boom, the public was ready for a frenzy. Enter Charles Berlitz. In 1974, he publishes a book simply called The Bermuda Triangle. It was an absolute juggernaut, selling 20 million copies worldwide. But Berlitz blew the whole thing totally out of proportion. He's talking about the mythical lost city of Atlantis pulling ships under, pitching theories about deep-sea time portals, outright claiming alien abductions. I mean, it's literally why Steven Spielberg had the Flight 19 crew abducted by aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The myth had just entirely swallowed the facts. Act 2. The lineup of suspects. Let's move to and see how this builds when we investigate the scientific theories. So our first major scientific suspect is navigational failure. You'll hear this a lot. People claim the Bermuda Triangle is one of only 2 places on the planet where a compass points to true north instead of magnetic north. Basically, a compass needle pulls toward the shifting magnetic north pole, but our maps use static geographic true north. The gap between them is called magnetic declination. But there is this invisible line, called the agonic line, where true north and magnetic north perfectly line up, 0 declination. So the big question, is this what threw Columbus and Flight 19 so terribly off course? Well, we can pretty much scratch the compass malfunction theory right off the list. Why? Because the agonic line isn't stuck in one place. It drifts west by about zero point 0.2 degrees every single year. So, yeah, while it did pass through the triangle area a long time ago, today it's actually way over in the Gulf of Mexico. Plus, this whole theory relies on a pretty huge, incredibly unlikely assumption that highly trained military pilots and veteran sea captains somehow just forgot how to mathematically compensate for magnetic declination, which is just a totally basic navigational skill. Okay, so if it's not the compasses, what about the sheer physical force of the environment itself? We've got three prime environmental suspects here. First up, the Gulf Stream. It rips right through the western edge of the triangle, moving 300 times faster than the Amazon River. That is absolutely powerful enough to throw inexperienced sailors hundreds of miles off course and quickly erase any wreckage. Suspect number two, 100-foot rogue waves. These are mathematically proven, terrifying anomalies that can easily swallow a ship whole. And third, explosive methane burps from the ocean floor. In 2016, researchers found these massive methane craters off the coast of Norway, and the media immediately blamed them for the Bermuda Triangle. But scientists were quick to note that while a giant gas bubble technically could sink a ship, it is highly, highly unlikely to be the actual culprit here. Act 3, the forensics. Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is what the hard data actually reveals. When researchers finally dug into global marine casualty data spanning 3 decades, between 1982 and 2015, they looked at over 150,000 incident records. Out of all those thousands of valid events worldwide, guess how many happened in the Bermuda Triangle? 361. That is a measly 4%. It falls perfectly in line with normal, everyday maritime accident patterns around the globe. But here is the real kicker. Out of all those incidents inside the triangle over a 33-year period, absolutely 0 were classified as mysterious disappearances. Not a single one. And the modern data is even more stunning. If we look at 2021 shipping data from Lloyd's List, which is a huge global shipping publication, 8,634 boats traveled through the Bermuda Triangle. And out of all of those vessels, there were exactly 2 casualties. That is a hilariously low casualty rate of 0.02%. To really put that incredibly tiny sliver of casualties into perspective, according to that Lloyd's List dataset, the actual danger of disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle is 90 times lower than the global shipping average. 90 times. Both the U.S. Coast Guard and Lloyd's of London completely agree on this. You are at no more risk losing a ship in the Bermuda Triangle than you are anywhere else on the planet. Okay, but what about the skies above, right? Well, the aviation data perfectly mirrors the maritime data. If you look at the National Transportation Safety Board database going all the way back to 1962, the incidents in this area are overwhelmingly just routine takeoff and landing issues, mostly over in the Bahamas. Get this, since 1965, there has only been one documented commercial flight incident over Bermuda. It was a single JetBlue flight that hit some severe turbulence, resulting in 1 injury. That's it. That's the whole shebang. Act 4, the verdict. Let's look at the fabulously unremarkable truth. So, who are the real culprits behind all these centuries of disappearances? It really comes down to a tragic combination of human error and incredibly hostile weather. Take Flight 19, for example. The transcripts show that the flight leader, Lieutenant Taylor, just got utterly lost. He thought he was over the Florida Keys, but he was actually way out over the Bahamas. So instead of flying west to safety, he completely miscalculated and tragically flew his men east, deep into the open Atlantic until they ran out of fuel. Add that very real potential for human error to the fact that Florida gets hit by more storms than any other U.S. state, Puerto Rico faces 4 to 5 hurricanes a year, and Bermuda is a magnet for extreme tropical cyclones, you suddenly have a perfectly rational explanation for why ships and planes went down before we had modern tracking. So the crucial point is simply this. The curse has been lifted. The Bermuda Triangle is, well, fabulously unremarkable. Statistically speaking, traversing this area today is as safe as your average boring summer holiday. It doesn't even make the top 10 most dangerous ocean regions in the world. The grand mystery that sparked thousands of books, blockbuster movies, and late-night theories really just boils down to incredibly bad weather and the occasional bad math. Which leaves us with one final, totally fascinating thought. If the greatest, most terrifying maritime mystery in human history was just bad weather and bad math, completely disguised by a lack of historical record-keeping, what other famous global legends are out there right now, just waiting to be debunked by a little bit of structured data? The truth really is out there, and usually, the numbers are exactly where you'll find it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning everything.